Hello. Hi guys, I hope I'm audible to you. Just a quick confirmation over the chat box who all are here in the Zoom meeting. Awesome. Okay. Hello. Yeah. Hi guys, I hope I'm audible. Okay. Are we going live on YouTube? Am I audible to everyone on YouTube as well? Yes. Awesome. Okay. So guys, what do we have today in our session is SBR day 1 of the marathon. And unfortunately, what happened in the beginning was that we had a Zoom link. I was supposed to upload the recording of this session on YouTube after some editing. But anyway, we are going live on YouTube as well. So together, we will solve all the things for the day. This session, particular session, is going live on YouTube. I'm not sure about tomorrow's session. Okay, so all of you who are here, congratulations, you're part of the Zoom meeting. The ones who are watching in YouTube, it's equally good. Okay, so don't worry. Anyways, what we have with us is our marathon, and this is something which will be happening 2 days. Day 1, day 2. So today it's day 1, and we are going to discuss about case study tips and tricks. When I talk about case study tips and tricks, I'm talking about what exactly are we supposed to do in our SBR. Okay, what exactly are we supposed to solve in SBR as a case study? So for that, we are having this session so that you understand. I'm sure by now, if you guys have started your kit practice, by now you guys have realized one thing, that kit is not as easy as people would have said, or when you were doing the syllabus, it was seemingly that, okay, when I'll start the practice, everything would be easy. But actually, currently, that's not the case. So I think everyone is facing such an issue while solving their exam kits. So this is the class which will help you devise your strategy, that how during your paper, how during your exam, you can make sure that your case study brainstorming power, your case study solving power, your answer writing is totally on track, right? So this is something which we have to discuss today. I can't see your chats. Yes. So exam kit is hard. I do understand that. Fine. So let's get started, everyone. Let's get started. Our agenda for day 1 is SBR techniques. Day 2, it is we will be doing December 2023 past paper from ACCA. We will do it from the CBE platform. And it is going to be interesting because we will solve finally a pre-populated spreadsheet. So everyone who's part of this session, who would be part of this session tomorrow as well, you guys would understand typically how to solve a pre-populated spreadsheet question. And December 2023 question was on statement of cash flow. So if you feel that group cash flow is not something which I'm enjoying as of now, so you are going to enjoy it tomorrow. Okay. The whole agenda of this class is, what do you want to be in the exam? You want to be this person who's fed up, who's confused, who's nervous, who's not sure what they've studied is actually asked in the paper, what is there in the case study, am I able to write it, would I be able to write it? Or you are a student who's confident, so while writing their paper, they're perfectly in the best frame of their mind, and they know this is what I want to write and this is how I'll tackle this case study. And if not 100, or if not a perfect score, I can easily pass because I know the tips and tricks to pass. So this is what I want you to be at the end of these 2 days. See, this is not a fast track revision class, or this is not a fast track standard class that I will explain you all the syllabus areas. That is grand revision. That is something that I would do with you towards the, when the exam is just around the corner, and that too we will do live in the session. So let's get started. What is our secret sauce to pass SBR? So everyone who's part of my free WhatsApp groups, I'll share this PDF with you. No need to note down anything. If you're not part of the WhatsApp group, please drop us a text. I'm sure my team will help you joining the WhatsApp group. So this is the number 9877637809. So whatever I would be typing tomorrow, whatever I am presenting today, you'll get the PDF of it. Okay. So what is the secret sauce to pass SBR? This is 1 mark, 1 relevant point. I hope you guys have seen that interview of a student who got an 83, and she was my student, and that's what she said. The reason she got an 83 marks was not because, she was studying all the time or she was very perfect in her IFRSs and she's done ample and ample of practice. No, there is a difference. Everyone does practice. What do you think? The people who failed at 49, the people who've been failing, what do you think? They're not practicing. If they're failing again and again, I'm sure they're practicing questions extensively. Then why are they failing? Why are they failing at 45, 46, 47, 49? What's happening with them? It's about the technique. It's not always about, that I have to pass. It's about in the right direction I have to pass. So if you work hard in the right direction, that is when you can secure or even think of securing a pass. So this is the right direction. 1 mark, 1 relevant point. So you have done papers like AAA, you must have done papers of SBL, right? I'm not sure that all of you who are attending this session, have you attended SBL beforehand or not? Or have you given any other professional level or not? Do let me know if you've given it. So in that case, you all know that in those papers, we are writing in paragraphs. We are making so, huge presentation. Headings are there, paragraphs are there. So much technical knowledge is shared. And we try to write on the point, not just content wise, but presentation wise also. But that is not the case with SBR. So that's something that I love about SBR, that I am just supposed to write in bullet points. I can write in bullet points. I can be to the point. So if ACCA is allowing me to be on the point, why I have to beat around the bush? Why I have to make paragraphs? Why I have to make headings? If ACCA itself is allowing me 1 mark, 1 relevant point, so I'll write 1 point. If I say this gain goes via statement of profit and loss under this standard, 1 mark. So why do you want to explain it further? Do you have so much of time? Or you want to put stories to that? It's all factual. This gain goes via OCI, factual. This will be reclassified. This will not be reclassified, factual. So what's there? Is there anything related to, you can say that I should write a story around it? If I do a calculation, if I say this is an associate, it will be held under IS 28 equity method of accounting, 1 mark. If I say this is a provision and this is the definition of provision, 1 mark. If I identify that this is a contingent liability which needs to be disclosed, 1 mark. If I say it's an adjusting event, 1 mark. Then I tell how to deal with adjusting events, another 1 mark. So why do you want to write stories, or why do you want to, waste the time of the examiner and yourself as well? Not at all necessary. So what I would suggest is that please follow this approach. This is the mantra to pass SBR. And please do not take this exam as mere accounting paper, just thinking like, I know debits and credits and I am so good at it. I know journal entry, so it's only accounting. No, I have to prepare balance sheet, P&L. I've done FR. That were different papers. FR is all practical. Only one question, interpretation, is theoretical. The whole SBR paper now is twisted towards theory. It's all about discussions. It's all about explanations. Every time they ask a requirement, they're like, calculate the goodwill on the acquisition of dash company and explain how you calculated it. So it's just like I'm doing a calculation as per some standards. I'm doing calculation as per a formula, and then I'm explaining that. So this is the beauty of SBR as of date. And we have to make sure that we are abiding by this and we are not taking it for granted. And another thing, it's highly unpredictable. I'll tell you one story. I went to one of my meetups in Delhi, in India, and there was one student. He didn't come to meet me. He brought his SBR book along. I don't know, maybe that student might be here. You never know. So he brought his SBR book along and he said, ma'am, can you mark important topics? Can you do ABC analysis for me? I just immediately understood that this person might be from CA background, because that's where we listen about ABC analysis, that this is important, this is highly important, this is secondarily important, this is lastly important. And that turned out to be right. So basically, this is not relevant in ACCA, in SBR. It might be relevant in all other papers. I'm not commenting on it, but it's not relevant in SBR. I'll give you an example. In December 23 itself, there was one student. She started studying, I think, around 20 days before the exam. And she said, ma'am, I'm just reading IFRS 8 and I'm leaving it. I was like, okay, if you're reading it. So I was assuming that you would be going through the standard and you would understand the rules of it. But later on, she told me that she didn't go through it at all. And in the question number 2, there was operating segments IFRS 8 as it is. I think it was around for 12 marks. So 12 marks for operating segments. Why did she miss those 12 marks? Cherry picking was done. What is cherry picking? If you are having a cake, if you are having a pastry, you're like, I'll just eat the cherry of it. I'll just eat, the thing that I like in it. You have to eat the full cake. You have to at least go through the whole standard once. One thing I always tell my students, if this is a standard, let's suppose this is IFRS 9, you are not supposed to go into much depth of it. Don't become or try to become doctor of IFRS. Let that be on the actual PhDs. Let that be on tutors. Okay. You're supposed to pass this paper. So I've seen so many intellectual people, they'll be like, ma'am, that part of IFRS 9, if I relate it with deferred taxation, what would be the outcome? Okay, you are intellectual, your mind is running, but we have limitation of time. If this paper was to be done in 6 months or 1 year, I would have loved to have that discussion. We just have few months with us, 2.5 months. That's our exam cycle. So we have to stick to it. So it's not required that I go so much in depth of a topic, but it's very much required that I cover the full topic at least once. That means I know what is there in this standard. I at least know the terms. I at least know that if something would be asked by chance, I'll be able to manage it. So if the examiner in the paper says or talks about loss allowance, I would be able to talk about this loss allowance. If he talks about impairment of financial assets, I'll refer to loss allowance. I'll know that there are 2 types of loss allowance, 12-month expected loss allowance and lifetime expected loss allowance. So I would be writing something, and that is what matters, right? So this is how you have to strategize your SBR paper. So as of now, if you guys have not gone into the depth of the standards, don't think that you are on some wrong track. You want to be able to manage it. You want to be able to pass. You'll pass. All you need is confidence, and that will come with practice. Okay. Then be good in explaining the standards more than calculations. Now, I have seen some people, let's suppose they were solving a TYU. TYU, you all know that is there in the Kaplan text. By now, you guys have done those TYUs, right? I hope so. So if you have backlogs, that's fine. You'll manage it. But the people who have gone through TYUs, you'd relate to it. If there's a calculation and I feel like I have done this wrong or I've thought this wrong, So that t value, that numerical has gone wrong as per your understanding. You thought it in this direction, it came out to be in this direction. So in this particular case, I want to emphasize that, guys, that is mere calculation. SBR is not just about calculation. If they ask you a 10 marker question and they say discuss with calculation, so they would give you at least 4 marks, maximum 4 marks for the calculation, and the remaining 6 marks are for explanation only. And I'm sure you won't do the calculations terribly wrong, because in the calculations also they will give you step marking. That's why ACCA pass percentage is such a high percentage. So you have to just find the loopholes. I hope you're relating. I'm just teaching in this session to you how to get your easy marks. And that's how, as a clever person, you strategize your preparation. That's smart work. That's not a shortcut. That's a smart work. So we know that explanation is giving us more marks. So write more. If you think the question is for 10 marks and my calculations have gone terribly wrong, write 7 marks for explanation, 7 points for explanation. At least you'll get out of 3, 1.5 from calculations, which would make 8.5. You're passing. Out of 10, you need 5. You're getting 8.5. So it's just like explanation is like, I have drawn a graph. I explain that graph. Similarly, I've calculated goodwill. I'll explain that calculation. So this is what I want you to understand, that be good in explanation. This is also a mantra to pass SBR. So number 1, 1 mark, 1 point. Then don't take this exam for granted. Start your practice, start your past papers if you have not done yet. It's a very challenging technical paper. It's not commonsensical, just like SBL, or, I have personally passed SBL because it was very commonsensical. You need not even do the syllabus of it, and you just read the technical articles and you've done few past papers, you'll be able to manage SBL. But SBR is technical. You need to do past papers because there will be testing of how you identify a standard. There are such questions in the past papers where it's very terrible to even identify which standard is applied there. Let a part be its explanation, let a part be, its calculation. Identification is a tough job. So how am I supposed to manage that? With practice. So don't take it for granted. No cherry picking. Please go through everything, not in depth, but at least cover 100%. And then please focus on explanations more than calculations. So make your calculations good, make them right. Don't try to achieve perfection, because explanation will come to your rescue. Okay. Next. Will I fail if my calculations are going wrong? So, some students, they don't believe me as it is. So I have to give them some proofs. So here they are saying that if, ma'am, I am not good in calculations, will I be able to pass? See this question. Explain how Berthold company will be accounted for. So they are asking you to explain. Explain, always you do in sentences. If I ask you to explain a concept, will you start using calculator? Sentences, explanation, including calculation. So calculation is a secondary thing here. In Sterling Company's consolidated statement of profit or loss for the year ended this, and explain and show how the goodwill in Berthold Company would be calculated at 1st December. Explain here, little bit of calculations here, little bit of calculations here. So if I was to bifurcate the mark allocation here, in the first part, they're asking me how to, calculate Berthold in the P&L. So out of 8 marks, I would give 3 marks for calculation, 5 marks for explanation. Why? Because you can see the prominence of explanation here. It's written first. Then here also, you can do 3, 3 if you want, because they've written explain and show. So 3 plus 3 you can do, or 3, 4 plus 2 also you can do. Depends upon you. If you think that your explanation, you have 4 points, please write 4 points. Because calculations, honestly, we don't believe ourselves. We don't trust ourselves. We might do wrong here and there. But that doesn't mean you will leave calculations or you will not do calculations at all. You have to give it a try, right? So this is something that I wanted to discuss with you, that what if my calculations are going wrong in the exam? Then can I just do important concepts and pass? I gave you an example of operating segments. IFRS 8, December 2023. You can go and check the ACCA paper yourself. It's there on the platform, CBE platform. Now let me talk about this question. Let's read us together. Discuss the nature of the SME standard and the principal differences between the SME standard and full IFRS. Which standard is SME? Which standard is SME? Yes. What standard do we have? What standard do we have in SME? Come on, chat box. IFRS 1, small standard. IFRS 5. Really? Small and medium-sized entities. Which standard is that? Homework. Check yourself. Which standard is this? That means you guys have not covered it yet. You've not even looked at it. Hence, proves you guys are doing cherry picking. If I said these standards are small, that means the content of these standard is small. I never said that you can leave it. If it was to be left, I would not have taught this to you. So it is there in your syllabus, okay? So you need to discuss the nature of SME, the principal difference between the SME and the full IFRS. So SME is a standard where we have small clients. When we are working with small companies, let's suppose we are working with some grocery store, local grocery shop. So that's a small client, right? So if I have a small client with me, I'm supposed to give them some exemptions. I'll tell them, okay, you can get some discounts here and there. Okay, you will not be required to completely do the disclosures. For example, what kind of exemptions are they getting? First of all, the goodwill. Are they calculating both types of goodwill? No, they're only calculating one type of goodwill. So which goodwill are they calculating in SMEs? Which type of goodwill are they calculating? What is their exemption? They're calculating partial goodwill. Right. So they're calculating only partial goodwill. What else? What are other exemptions? NCI not there. No. Very good. Development cost. For them, everything is expense. If we talk about for SMEs, they don't apply IS 38, research and development. They are expensing everything. They're not capitalizing development cost. They are expensing each and everything. So that's very simple for them. They're not supposed to apply the pirate criteria and identify what is development and what is research. So we will talk about SMEs a little over here. So if you would know something about them, you'll talk about SMEs a little. Then you will talk about full IFRS standard. So how are you talking about full? You'll talk about IS 38. Development, we have pirate criteria, but it is not there in SME. Why? Because we want to give some ease to small clients, to small entities. That's a good way, or that's a good step taken by the IASB. Correct? Then discuss the nature and principal difference. So 4 marks. So figure out at least 3 points for this, 3 exemptions for this. I gave you the goodwill one, I gave you the R&D one. Figure out another one for it, for the SME. Then discuss the effect that information asymmetry can have on the decision to invest in SMEs. What is this information asymmetry? Don't you think this question is a little bouncer? We've not done it directly in our standards. What is information asymmetry and how is it affecting the investment decision. So this is totally going over our head. Bouncer question, classic example of bouncer question. How to deal with it? If I was you, I would have read it again. Discuss. So I have to talk about it. Information asymmetry. You all know what information is. I'm not going to explain what information is. What is asymmetry? Difference. What I know versus what you know. Right? That's an asymmetry. That what I know is different and what you know is different. So we both have different sets of information. Okay. So what effect information asymmetry can have on the decision to invest in SMEs? So what I can understand from this is that if there is an investor, he has limited funds and he has both the companies in front of him, large company also, small company also. So he needs to decide in which company he would invest. For large company, he has detailed information because they are not given any kind of exemptions. They're not given any kind of exceptions. But this SME has some kind of limitations that what they would be disclosing. So that becomes a little, that becomes a little easy for them, but difficult for the investor. So the investor won't know what they're developing because they are expensing everything. Investor want to know their borrowing cost because they are expensing the borrowing cost also. They're not capitalizing it. So that means we have an information asymmetry. What we have as an information for large clients, large companies, that same kind of information is not available for small and medium-sized entities. So from investor perspective, this becomes incomparable. This is less understandable and comparability reduces. So this is what we will mention for 4 marks. You can talk about comparability here. You can talk about what you mean by information asymmetry and which two parties you're comparing the information. You're comparing the information of large companies and SMEs. Then discuss how integrated reporting could help SMEs better understand and better communicate how they create value to investors. So this again, they have cooked a meal. In Hindi, we call it as khichdi. So they've cooked a meal. There is a SME standard, okay? There is integrated reporting as a concept. So what we guys would have been expecting in our exam, advantages of integrated reporting, disadvantages of sustainable reporting. Maximum, we would have given a quick explanation. What is integrated reporting? 6 types of capital are reported. These are the advantages. But here they have twisted the question. They have related SME with integrated reporting. Bouncer question. What is the way of dealing? First, explain what is integrated reporting. Get your 1 easy mark. Explain integrated reporting. Explain SME once again, 1 easy mark. So out of 5, I've already got 2. Good. Then, how are they creating value? Value to investors? Better communication? Then you will explain, you will relate. This is a little technical. You will relate better communication point. You'll relate the better communication point with SMEs. So integrated reporting, when we talk about it, we are talking about extensive disclosures. We are talking about more of talking, more of explanations, more of disclosures given, whether it's for human capital, natural capital, physical capital, intellectual capital. So we are talking about that, I'll give you a holistic view of my company. So in the previous point only, we've talked about information asymmetry. So because SME is getting some kind of exceptions and exemptions, now these exceptions and exemptions can be covered up in, these information asymmetry can be covered up in integrated reporting. So basically, examiner is giving you a hint that this information asymmetry is a problem and its solution is integrated reporting. So we understand that as an SME, you are expensing your development cost. But why can't you disclose it? You can't record it in balance sheet. You can't record it in P&L. You can disclose it as part of your integrated report. So that would become your intellectual capital. Development is like a software that you're developing, intangible asset. So that becomes your intellectual property. So you are going to, mix the things. You are going to explain the things and then relate them. So I explained two things. Now I'm going to bridge the gap between two of them. As many points as possible. 3 points, you get 5 marks. If you're not able to make those 3 points, fine. Doesn't matter. At least make 2 points, 1 point. Even if you make 1 point, even if you write that information asymmetry point, that is getting resolved with integrated reporting, which leads to better communication, you are passing. Out of 5, you're getting 3 marks. How difficult is that? How difficult is that? But who can do this? Only a person who's not nervous in the paper. Now, if you're a person who blanks out, looking at, your peers, is he understanding? What is he writing? What is the expression of the person? Do they feel this paper is difficult? What will mom think if I fail this paper? If you have all these thoughts going in your mind, you're nervous. What would be asked in question number 4? What if hedging is there? I've not done hedging. What if group cash flow is tested? I've not done that. So if these thoughts are going in your mind, you won't be able to get these easy marks and you won't be able to keep a cool mind. So only a cool and a calm person can crack case studies. That's the biggest secret sauce for the whole ACCA. Okay, so work on that. Next. So what I want to tell you is, can I just do important concept? SME is not an important concept as per what you guys must have heard, that this is easy, this is small. Information asymmetry and integrated reporting, this is also something people take for granted, that this is an easy topic, let's leave it, or we'll just listen to some podcast by ma'am and we'll pass. No. When you encounter these concepts in the kit, you don't want to read it from the text, okay. You just want to attend the lecture, okay. But while doing this kit, you will encounter such concepts. Keep on learning with them. Read the answer of this particular question at the back. You learn so much. So this is how I want you guys to study, and this is the biggest tip to actually crack case studies in your SBR paper. Okay, let's move on. When I say compare your answer with kit answer, so all my students, enrolled students, yesterday only we were doing this question, Kate company. Are we all here? Yesterday only we were doing this question. Yes, Kate company question. I hope you all remember this. So what was there? Let's check our YouTube also. If you're going live, fine. Okay. Hi to all at YouTube as well. Fine. So we were doing this question yesterday, Kate company. This is the answer of that question at the back of the kit. Try and read this. See if you can understand what's written. Not understandable? What they have written? IS 16 defines residual value. Okay, that we understand. But don't you think this is too, feels like impossible? We can't do this. Not relatable, right? So this is really difficult thing. If you check this question in your kit also, this is a very difficult answer that they've written. Now look at the answer, which is the realistic answer. This is directly taken from yesterday's my live class with the students. So I wrote this answer in the class. Please forgive me for my spelling mistakes. I just write it in a hurry. So these are the points which I've written. What I want to explain you here is not what is there in Kate company question, and I'm not explaining Kate company question. What I want you to understand is, that this type of presentation is what is recommended. Highly, highly recommended. This type of presentation. What I'm talking about here, see, I've just stated the standard. 1 point for that. I said cost model is when I keep it at carrying amount. This is how I keep it at carrying amount. How simple, sweet, cute, you know, that we all know what is cost model. We all know it from a basic understanding. So just written that. Then I've said the life of an asset is an estimate. See, it's a quality answer. I'm not babbling. In one sentence, first I've mentioned that life of an asset is an estimate. And then I've said it should be reviewed each year end. I don't know why, but I'm proud of myself. So this particular line in itself is a very qualitative and crisp thing, right? Then life of an asset is used to calculate depreciation. Why do you need this life? Because I need to calculate depreciation. How do I calculate depreciation? See how easily I've mentioned it, because there are no professional marks in this question. This is primarily for, 1 mark, 1 point. There's no professional marks. So easily I've written here cost minus residual value divided by life of the asset. And then I go on with my case study. So till here, 3 points, I've just mentioned IS 16 plainly. I've not even related it to the case study. But did I write IS 16 is this huge? IS 16 is this huge, right? So you guys do understand that I'm just writing few points here. I'm not writing the whole point for IS 16. I could have talked about revaluation model. I could have talked about so many things in IS 16, that how revaluation upward goes from OCI and how revaluation downward goes via P&L. I could have talked about so many things. But over here, I'm just talking about IS 16 plain points, which are relatable to the case study, which I could relate to the case study. And then I have related it further to the case. So this is how you're supposed to write a perfect answer. Clear? I hope you are understanding this. Let me check your chats. Okay. I hope the screen is visible to you. Okay. Fine. Next. You can zoom on your end. I think on YouTube it's quite visible. I'll be sharing this PDF with you anyways after the class, so don't worry. Okay. Let's continue. Let's talk about pre-populated spreadsheet. What is there in pre-populated spreadsheet? I hope everyone has heard about this, that from September 2023, there was a change and this pre-populated spreadsheet was introduced in our exam. So we have started using pre-populated spreadsheet, and This is something which would be given to you in the paper, which would be already there in the Excel response option, and we are supposed to fill that Excel. Okay. So what is happening is, this is a extract that I've taken from your CBE past paper. Okay. This is an extract which is taken from CBE past paper. What I have in here, using exhibit 1, adjust the pre-populated spreadsheet to prepare revised extracts of the operating and investing activities of the consolidated statement of cash flow. So what are they asking me? They are asking me to prepare revised extracts using the pre-populated spreadsheet for the operating and investing activity only. So they've already given me this in my exhibit. They've already given me this in my response option. We will be solving this question tomorrow. I'm just showing you the extract. I'm not solving the question. So this is an extract. This is the response option. They've given you cash inflow from operating activities. They've given it from net cash inflow from operating, from investing. They have left some space. This is left. This is left. This is left, and this is left. And some spaces over here also. So what I'll do, I use this area to do my adjustments. Adjustment 1, adjustment 2, 3, 4, 5. So in the question, there might be something which is going wrong. I'll identify that mistake, and I'm supposed to rectify that mistake in my pre-populated spreadsheet. So I will make adjustments over here. So adjustment 1, 2, 3, 4, that's what I'm supposed to do, right? So here I can do the adjustments. If there would be anything missing, completely missing, so that completely missing point is supposed to be written over here, over here. So that means maximum how many points can be missing? See, over here, they've just given you one line. So that means in operating activities, there is only one line which is missing, right? There's only one line which is missing. So I will just put it on this one line. Here also, only one line do I have. So I'll be putting my adjustment over here. So if there is an adjustment, let's suppose there is an adjustment, something needs to be added. 1 million needs to be added to profit before tax. So for that, I don't need another row. I can simply make that adjustment in the column next to PBT. So this is how you're supposed to deal with pre-populated spreadsheet. And this is for 14 marks. 14 marks are a huge thing, guys. And I've seen many people, they simply leave the pre-populated blank. Reason, just one. Because they didn't start with question number 1, or while they were reading the question number 1, they said we will deal with pre-populated at the end. And that end never comes. We think we will do it at the end, but then that end never comes because you are already under a time crunch. You do not have that much level of time that you could easily crack and leave some time for your question number 1 at the end. So if you want to leave pre-populated at the end, don't start your paper with question 1. That's my suggestion. If you think that I would leave pre-populated and I will manage it towards the end, then there's no point of starting this paper with question number 1. However, it is highly recommended that you guys begin with question number 1 because it's highly scoring. Everyone knows it's coming from group accounts. So it's something we are well prepared for. If we practice well for pre-populated, this is the most scoring area of your syllabus. And I mean that. So tomorrow I'll be solving this question with you. Don't worry if you're not understanding what this question is saying. Don't worry, we are doing it tomorrow. All calculations, everything is going to be done on the CBE platform. Today we are just discussing our technique so that tomorrow we can apply that technique. The whole December 2023 paper would be solved tomorrow. So here I'm supposed to adjust my spreadsheet to prepare adjusted statement of cash flow, 14 marks. Then see, even if I get a 7 on 14 out of here, even if I just aim for 7 on 14, I think that is something we all can do. we have to explain the adjustments required to correct the operating and investing activity. So now whatever you've adjusted here, you need to explain that here, just like drawing a graph. I've drawn a graph and I'll explain this is what is there on the y-axis, this is what is there on the x-axis. It becomes very easy. But here you're just supposed to explain what you've added, what you've deducted, why have you added in that particular row, or why have you, adjusted it in PBT, why not have you adjusted it in some other account balance. So that is something which we have to give in our explanation. Then using exhibit 2, advise the financial controller. Advice means explanation as to how various financial instruments, including overdraft, should be presented in the consolidated statement of cash flow. So they are talking about overdraft. Do you guys remember this question? Overdraft question. Can my students give me answer on the chat box? I'm looking at the chat box now. We did this. Come on, tell me overdraft. Which question was it? It's not a cash flow. Overdraft is a cash equivalent. Yes, everyone on YouTube, what is an overdraft? How do you treat an overdraft? What is an overdraft? It is a cash equivalent. Very good. So overdraft is a cash equivalent, but it's negative cash equivalent. It is a negative cash equivalent. Overdraft is a negative cash balance. So my question to you, quick question to everyone on the Zoom meeting and in the YouTube live. If I am disposing a subsidiary, I've disposed a subsidiary which had an overdraft. Is it a cash outflow for you or cash inflow? Cash outflow or cash inflow? Inflow, outflow. Okay. Very good. It's an inflow. So if you check Moise company question, if everyone would try and check Moise company question in your kit, Kaplan kit, you'll find the answer to what I'm saying. There was a subsidiary being disposed in that particular question, and that subsidiary had an overdraft. So we said when we dispose a subsidiary in our investing activity, when we dispose a subsidiary, so in our investing activity of cash flow, yes, what do we get? We get an inflow. So you will say sale of subsidiary. Sale of subsidiary, it's a cash inflow. Correct? But the question is, do we take the whole proceeds here? We just take the net amount. What is the net amount? What were the proceeds that you've received? What were the proceeds that you've received minus the cash of subsidiary? So cash of subsidiary was also there. When subsidiary was there with us, this subsidiary was also having its own cash balance. So when we dispose that subsidiary, that cash is also going out. So I take it at net amount. But in this case, cash of subsidiary is a negative balance. So let's suppose I sold the subsidiary for $1,000 and the cash of subsidiary was an overdraft of 100. So it's a negative cash balance. So you will write here minus 100. So open this bracket. What would be your net cash inflow? Open the bracket. What would be the net cash inflow? 1100, 1000 plus 100. So my net cash inflow would be $1100. Such a question we've done in Moise Company, and as it is in the paper of December 2023, it was asked. They asked, how do you treat overdraft in your statement of cash flow? So you understand that overdraft is a negative cash. So I will put a negative sign in front of it whenever I'm doing the calculation. So this is something you guys need to understand, that whatever we do in the past papers, whatever we do in the kit, that's not useless. You might encounter parts of your question in the real exam exactly same as what you've done in the kit. So this is exactly relatable to Moise Company question. The December 2023, here they're talking about cash overdraft, and they're also talking about other financial instruments. So one concept of overdraft is coming from Moise Company. Let's move on. Okay. So I hope we all understand how question number 1 is being asked. Now comes question number 2, ethics. This question is quite funny. I think yesterday only I was having a discussion with one of the students here. There is one question in your Kaplan kit where you will see that accountant of a company goes on a coffee date with the accountant of the client. Okay, so there's one accountant, he's a guy, and he's unethical because he's doing something under his own self-interest. And then he goes on a date with the accountant of the client. So she's a lady. And they both go on a coffee and they are discussing about IFRS 16. So this accountant of the entity is trying to act as very knowledgeable person, and they both are discussing IFRS 16. At the end of the day, we realize that they both are discussing wrong treatment. So he went on a coffee date and he was trying to impress a person, and then he's discussing it completely wrong. So can you imagine, that is the type of questions we get in SBR. So you will see an accountant with lack of knowledge of IFRS. You will see he's incorrectly dealing with a standard. He's not attended SBR classes and he's just there. He's practicing. He doesn't know the accounting standard, but he's doing incorrect treatment. We will comment that, dude, you are incorrect. You're not following the code of ethics. What are the code of ethics principles? Come on, principles. What do I call principles as? PICOP. Very good. What is PICOP? P stands for professional behavior, integrity, confidentiality, objectivity, and professional competence and due care. So I need all these 5 principles which are being met by the accountant being an ACCA member. So if he is not meeting these principles, he's totally wrong. So he is not abiding with his code of ethics. So you will see in this question, first you will identify the accounting issue. In the case study, you will see they would be wrongly applying accounting treatment of various standards. For that, you need standard knowledge only. There will be no professional marks for the identification of the mistake. So you will identify the mistake. You will rectify the error. You'll do the rectification. You'll say you've applied this incorrectly. This is the correct treatment and this is the rectifying adjustment entry. And then you will comment upon his ethics. How can you comment on his ethics? You'll talk about what all things he's doing wrong. You'll comment upon the threats he's facing. Self-interest threat, familiarity threat, advocacy threat, self-review threat. He's breaching confidentiality. So when we talk about insider trading, that is a breach of confidentiality. When we talk about, let's suppose that, you're just thinking that what would maximize shareholders' wealth. So there you are compromising your objectivity. You're being biased. You have a group of stakeholders to cater to. You cannot just think about shareholders. So this is what we will comment, and this will carry professional marks. These professional marks are 2 professional marks. So I am supposed to write answers in a good flow, in professional words, and make them relevant. So try to frame them with headings. So tomorrow I'll be doing a question from ethics. I'll show you exactly how you can frame headings and paragraphs, and you can make a logical flow to your answer and make sure that you are being relevant, you're being case study specific, and you are pouring all your information in a good articulated sentence. That means whatever I'm writing is making sense, is valuable, is not in, like, you can exaggerate your answers also by talking too much in simple language. That is a wrong thing. That is not a professional thing. Professionals talk less, they would talk more, but in less time. So this is what you have to do in your case study. You have to talk more, but you have to make sure you're taking less time. You're taking less of the space. Correct? So this is something very important. Then question number 3 of your paper. This is coming from multiple standards. Have you guys tried DigiWire question? Anyone here on the Zoom and the YouTube live, have you guys tried DigiWire? Have we tried DigiWire yet? Yes, we have tried. Some of you have tried. Good. So in that question of DigiWire, you'll realize they are asking you question from IFRS 15. Okay, they're asking you question from cryptocurrency. I'll share my answer of DigiWire with you in my WhatsApp group, which I wrote way back in my one of the offline classes in South. So I'll share that answer with you, that how I've written it in points and how I've bifurcated, that this part of my answer relates to revenue. This part of my answer relates to royalty. This part of my answer relates to IFRS 9. And then I've discussed about cryptocurrency, how I've discussed about cryptocurrency. You'll understand this is a realistic answer. So there's a huge gap between kit answer, which is perfect, and a gap between what is realistic, what is actually something you can think of writing in the paper. So this is something very important that we understand. And rarely even current issues are tested in question number 3. I hope everyone knows what are current issues. There's a proper lecture on my YouTube free of cost for everyone to attend on current issues. So this is something which is still relevant. Can you name some current issues in your syllabus? Let's see, have you prepared for them or not? Can you name some current issues? Yes. Cryptocurrency is a current issue, okay. ICO, very right. Integrated reporting, management commentary, materiality, very good. Climate changes. What else? APMs. So all these are current issues where we talk about some things which are still in the phase of preparation. That means ISB has not made a proper standard on it. For example, cryptocurrency. So on cryptocurrency, we do not have a proper standard. We still are confused. Should we keep cryptocurrency as a cash under IS7? Is it a cash equivalent? Or should we keep it as IFRS 9, financial instrument, financial asset? Or should we keep it as IS38, intangible asset? So that's a current issue. So for knowing the answer, what exactly do you treat your cryptocurrency as? You need to refer to the lecture of current issues, because we have a lot of things in current issues, and you never know, for a direct question you can encounter, how do you treat cryptocurrency? So you can even encounter what is materiality. There's a change in materiality definition. We used to call materiality as something which is omitted or something which is incorrect. Now we say it's not just about misstatement and omitting, it's also about obscuring. What if you have hidden something? You're making it relevant in the financial statements, you are disclosing it, you are reporting it, but you've reported it in a hidden manner. You're trying to hide that amount. Even that is material. So we need to understand that what are the recent changes by IASB, what is their way of thinking. So since 1 year, their way of thinking is same as of what has been told to us. So that is the reason our current issues are same as the previous year. So only few things are cut from that current issue, not the whole current issues. I've seen many people saying this on the WhatsApp groups and my YouTube comments also. Ma'am, is you current issue not tested? It is tested. Who said it's not tested? Only one current issue was removed, and that doesn't matter because it became part of your standard. That was related to IS 19. If you remember, in IS 19, if you make any amendment, settlement, curtailment, you are updating your assumptions and interest rates. That was something which was introduced in 2019 only. PASC, Plan Amendment Settlement Curtailment. So standard says whenever there will be PASC, you need to revise your assumptions, you need to revise your interest rates. So only that is being removed from current issues and has been put into the standard itself. So there's no major change in current issues. You all are required to go through the lecture which is given to you or read current issues yourself, whatever suits you. Next, question number 4. So this is the LOL question. Reason, because by the time you would reach question number 4 of your paper, number 1, you will be done with your time. This is my personal experience. I don't know what is your experience. As a student, it was my experience that by the time I would reach my last question, I am in the worst level of my handwriting because I've given paper-based exams, and I am in the worst level of my thinking capacity. Does that happen with you? Is it happening in papers, or are you able to manage your time? Worst level of thinking, worst level of handwriting, worst level of brainstorming. So totally blank, and we are just rushing. There were times, especially in my AAA paper, it's a very lengthy paper. In last 10 minutes, I did 125 marker. Imagine. So if you are in that situation, first of all, we need to avoid that situation. But practically, it might happen. It's professional qualification. It's a professional paper. So we might have time crunch. But if you are in that situation and on over and above, I tell you that this question is bouncer. What will you do? Cry in corner? So this question, we reached it by the end, right? And then this question comes out to be bouncer. Now, I will tell you a reality. Many students who would say that, dude, question number 4 of SBR is horrible. First reason, that person was in panic mode because his time was running out and he was not able to complete the paper. So even if he would have seen a basic question on subsequent measurement of IS 16, he would have said that this is a bouncer. You getting this? So the feedback that you hear from your friends, from your seniors in college, in your batches, wherever you're studying, or in your WhatsApp groups. So they are saying this, first of all, because if they've given the paper, by the time they would have reached question number 4, their mind was exhausted. So whatever they were reading was bouncer to them. Second reason, actually, sometimes this question is a bouncer. So one question I did yesterday only with my students, Tabasco. So Kate and Tabasco were yesterday's question. I don't know why I'm discussing both of them today. So that was also a bouncer question. It talked about advice on the APMs that were selected. Then it talked about what? Free cash flow, calculation of free cash flow, adjustment to the cash generated from what? Operations. So that was a little technical topic. And if you are having time crunch, would you be able to apply your common sense when time is ticking? You are sweating, time is running, invigilator is saying the time is going to get over. Would you be able to apply your common sense? No. And that's the major reason why people fail. And that's the major reason I tell everyone the solution to this. Please manage time. Time management. Okay? Management, time management is utmost important in SBR. If you guys just complete the paper. I've seen this as a trend. It's been 4 years I'm teaching. I've seen this trend. If the students complete the paper, they are passing the paper. Because you've seen the liberal marking scheme of it. Easy marks are available. Just talking about IS 16 getting marks. Just calculations are wrong. I'm explaining the calculations. I'm getting marks. Time management. Very important. And if you skip that portion, you have seen question number 4. Everyone, if you have not gone through Tabasco, if you have not attended my classes, fine. You go to Tabasco company question. It's there in everyone's Kaplan kit. You can find it. Go to question number 4. It's a classic example of question number 4. There's one more example. One is Tabasco. Another is hand food. Okay. And another question is guidance company. I've put this in your Super 20 also. So these are the questions on question number 4, APMs. Try these questions. At the face of it, they might feel like easy, you know, that they have given me some mistakes in the question, in the case study. I'll rectify those mistakes. I will restate my ratios and I will comment whether the movement is good or movement is bad. But if you are doing it in time crunch, will you be able to tackle it? No. Yesterday only I did this question with everyone and they were like, ma'am, this is very difficult. But then when I told them that, you know, think like SBL approach, keep common sense as priority, then they were able to relate. So common sense will not work in time crunch. That's what the only point that I'm trying to convey, that yes, question number 4 is common sense because it's not related to merely standards. It's all about discussions that you give, but discussions are not possible in the time crunch. So please manage your time well. And you cannot even pick this question first because it is just for 25 marks. In any way, you're not going to score really high in this question even if you do it first, because it is a gray area question. When I talk about APMs, you guys have done interpretation in FR, FM, PM. You all know that is something which will vary. What a person is writing, you know, exactly that thing might not be there in the marking scheme. So it's a subjective area. I call that as gray area. What is your judgment about the performance of a company might be different from my judgment, and that is acceptable. So it becomes subjective, it becomes relative concept, varies from person to person. So it's not dealt under any IFRS. I cannot say that I'm applying a rule to it and I'm interpreting that rule and I'm giving a conclusion. No. So that means I have to be very vigilant of my time management. I cannot even start this question first because anyway, this is not going to give me 25 on 25. A consolidation question might give me a 30 on 30 if I do really well in that. But this question, I have to keep ample of time for it. 45 marks, 25 marks means 45 minutes. You need to keep 45 minutes for your question number 4. So this is very essential, time management, right? So this is what is there in question 1, 2, and 3. Are we all clear on this? Are we all clear? Yes. Awesome. Okay. Fine. This is a brainstorming question that I want to do with you guys. This is related to December 2023 past paper. You guys can open it on your end if by chance the screen is not visible to you. So you can open it on your end. It's December 2023, question number 3. I just want to teach you how to brainstorm. Everyone can see it on the board, right? Everyone, it's visible to you. Can we read it? Yes, clear? Good. Okay. I will do the B part of it. I'll teach you how to brainstorm a question in the exam. Explain how the revenue from internet service contract. Revenue, which standard is this? Which standard is this? Revenue. IFRS 15, good. IFRS 15, I'm supposed to refer to how the revenue from internet service contract and sale of equipment to this company should be accounted for in accordance with IFRS 15. So it's already given. And this is for 10 marks. 10 marks, huge deal. So here I'm supposed to explain the revenue of one, internet service contract, two, sale of equipment. So quickly, I can give two headings in my mind only. Sale of internet service. I've not even read the case study. I don't know what is this internet service, but I can give this heading, sale of internet service, and I can give a heading, sale of equipment to Seer company. Right? So now let's read what is given to us. I hope this is also visible to all. Quick yes or no in the chat box. Yes, clear. Okay, good. On 1st January, J company entered into a contract to provide Seer company with an internet service. So this relates to my heading number 1. This contract is saying that you will provide this service for 2 years. So it's just like you guys take coaching. If you were not doing ACCA, it has a short exam cycle. So let's suppose you were doing something like which takes 2 years. So you entered into a contract with me which takes 2 years. Right? The ones who can't see, please open this on your end. December 2023 CB platform of ACCA. Come on. Take 2 minutes. Open it. I'm sharing it on your groups. The paid ones. I'm sharing it on one free group also. You can share it with all the students yourself. Let's be helpful to the community. I've shared the PDF with you just in case you want to annotate along with me or you want to refer to it. So the contract price was agreed at 2 million. Okay. Contract price was agreed at 2 million. That means I am selling internet service for 2 years and the contract price of it is 2 million. Transaction price is 2 million, which was received on full on 1st January. So I am receiving the full money in advance. The contract will last for 2 years. I am receiving the full money in advance. So in my brainstorming, what point I will write? First, I'll give a heading in my notepad. I'm talking about your self-practice. I'm not talking about your actual exam. So you'll give the heading internet service. Okay. And in that first point, you're going to write that background. You can give a background. What is the background over here? You can copy and paste from the case study itself. It's allowed in ACCA, especially in professional level, you can copy paste. So you can just write that line from the case study which says that it is something which will happen for 2 years and the transaction price is 2 million and we have received this money on 1st January 2016. So these are the 3 points I must cover in my background. Second point. Now what I will do, I'll relate this to the case study. But before that, I need to write IFRS 15. What does IFRS 15 state? You need to determine here, what do you think I should apply from IFRS 15? Should I apply the 5-step approach or is there something which is different? What part of revenue I should write? What do you think? Which part of revenue should I write? Which part of revenue should I write? Over the period of time or at a point in time. So you will write those three conditions. So you will write that part of IFRS 15, which talks about when to recognize revenue. Step number 5. When to recognize revenue, which is step number 5. What are the three conditions? You recognize the revenue over the period of time if any of these three conditions are met. Can you tell me the three conditions quickly in the chat box, both you Zoom meeting and YouTube live? What is there? Three conditions. Very good. Condition number 1. Customer simultaneously receives and consumes the benefit. Secondly, I am enhancing an asset. Of customer. That means I am enhancing an asset which is controlled by the customer. So when you enhance something which customer controls, which customer owns, when you create an asset, let's suppose you're doing a construction and that is being controlled, the land is being controlled by the customer. You've done a construction. Next day, the customer says, please don't come from tomorrow. I'll keep another construction company. You can't take that property which you have built on your shoulders and run from there, taking your work done along with you. So you can't do that. So if you can't do that, that means you have an enforceable right to payment. Enforceable right to payment. So that means by law, in my contract, it is written that if the customer defaults, if the customer says that he doesn't want the contract anymore, so whatever work I have done, I will be given the remuneration of that work. If I'm not given the remuneration for that work, I can sue the customer. So this is something that you're supposed to write as the second point. You must have enforceable right to payment. Last one is, what is the third? Enhancing asset, but now you are controlling it. That means entity owns that asset this time, but it is a customized asset. That means as a company, you are customizing a asset for your customer. You all, Valentine's Day is coming, so you get customized gifts for your dear ones. So nobody would like a mug of coffee with the photo of your friend. So it's customized, right? So you are supposed to pay for it. There's no another, you can say, substitute to this. So if you get it customized, so let's suppose there was a building which is being made and this building is customized. Let's suppose it's having the logo of the company. Now nobody else would buy that building. So you will be obliged to buy it. So in the contract, it will be written that you're supposed to make payment for this. So based upon the progress of the work in these three conditions, if any of these three conditions are met, I recognize the revenue over the period of time. Now coming back to the case study, I've referred IFRS 15 three conditions. How could I refer these three conditions? If I remember them by heart and I cannot cram things, then you make that as a Chinese whisper, you know. I tell you something, you write something else because you were acting as a parrot and cramming it. You need to understand it. So you can memorize these three conditions with the help of example. Example 1, when are you receiving and consuming the benefit? Teaching. I'm teaching you. So as your tutor, I will recognize the revenue OTP, because as in when I teach something to you, you consume it. I can never ask you to give it back because you've consumed it. So you can't act as Dumbledore and take out that nerve from your head and give it back to me that, ma'am, okay, you taught me IFRS 15, take it back. I don't want to take your classes. Can you do that? So you are simultaneously receiving and consuming the benefit. So example is teaching. Second example, this construction with a right to payment. Third, your Valentine's gift. They are customized. So you will remember these three examples and you will be able to frame these three conditions in the exam. Okay. So it might be in your own language, but you will be able to do it. Okay. Next. So over here, I will write that and then I will relate that in this case of internet service, is it ATP or is it over the period of time? This is happening within 2 years. So should I recognize it over the period of time or at a point in time? Over the period of time. Why? Because this internet service is given for 2 years. So customer is simultaneously receiving and consuming the benefit. If you guys have any Wi-Fi, if you guys have any data plans, so you are consuming and receiving it over the period of time, right? Simultaneously. So you will say the first condition is met here. So this will be recognized OTP. So what will be my point of discussion? After writing these 2 points, my third point will be my conclusion. What would be my conclusion? That internet service is OTP. Fourth point, what is the accounting treatment? They've said that you've received $2 million in advance. You've received $2 million in advance, but you are supposed to recognize it OTP. So that means you were supposed to recognize it over 2 years. So in year 1, you would have recognized 1 million revenue. In year 2, you would have recognized 1 million revenue. But what have you done? In the year 1 only, you've recognized full 2 million. Is that correct? Is that correct? Nope. So what's the right treatment? The whole 2 million, when it was received, you can give the journal entries. You can say when the amount was received, bank debit 2 million and revenue credit. This year's revenue is only 1 million and rest is contract liability. That is deferred income. It's a contract liability of 1 million. So 5 points I have made out of one sentence. With one sentence out of 10 marks, I've got my 5 marks. That's how you brainstorm a case study and that's how you get your easy marks first. Let's talk in the next paragraph what they have. They're saying at the same date, this company sold equipment to this Seer company at its fair value of 5 lakh. At the end of the internet service contract, Seer company has a right to return equipment and receive 20,000. So Seer company is the buyer and buyer has an option to return. What kind of option is that? If the buyer has an option to return the product, what kind of option is that? Okay, one student says variable consideration. It's sale and repurchase agreement. This is a sale and repurchase agreement. We might have to repurchase this from our customer. We sold something as J company. We have sold something to Seer company and this Seer company can put it back to us. They have an option to put it back in front of us. So we will have to repurchase it. Remember that haunted house example from the classes? Sale and repurchase agreement. Come on. It's not lease back. It's sale and repurchase, IFRS 15. Very important concept. Remember? Yes. So this is sale and repurchase arrangement where the customer can give it back to us. And then how we will take it back? We will take it back at 20,000. So what is the repurchase price? This is the repurchase price, 20,000. Now we need to understand, okay, this is a put option. So we'll first identify. Let's give another heading. Heading number 2, sale of equipment. Yes, first point in sale of equipment I would write is that it is IFRS 15, sale and repurchase, where we might repurchase the asset back from the customer. In this particular case, we will say this is a put option. Now, it's not directly given to you. Is it a put option with obligation or without obligation? What is with obligation, without obligation? I hope you remember it from your concept. That means with obligation is if you guys gave me or sold any asset to me, right? If you guys have sold any asset to me and you say, ma'am, you can give this asset back to us anytime. So I am the buyer and I have an option that in a given time, I can put that asset back in front of you. So that is what? Put option, right? It's a put option. But the point is, do you have an obligation to take that house back from me? Do you have an obligation? I might put anything in front of you. Do you have that obligation to take it back? That is not given to us directly. So what we will see, let's see in the question. Let's read it ahead. They are saying that the fair value would be 75,000. So at that point in time in future, the fair value of this equipment will be 75,000 and the customer will be able to sell this to us for 20,000. Will you be interested to take it back? Something which is of 75,000, you will give 20,000 for it. Will you be interested to take it back? Something whose fair value is 75,000. You will just have to pay 20,000 for it. Will you not take it back? Yes, you will take it back. So it's quite probable that you will take it back. Fair value 75,000 and I have to just pay 20,000 for it. So I'll say, yes, give it back to me. I'll sell it in the market. You give it back to me. This is such an amazing offer. So you will take it back. So it doesn't matter there's an obligation or not. It's highly probable that you will take it back. So in that case, what rules do we apply? We refer to, first of all, we will describe this. We will say it's highly likely that we will take it back. Why? Because its repurchase price is just 20,000 and its fair value is 75,000. So we will just have to pay 20,000 for something whose fair value is 75,000. We'll get it back and we'll sell it in the other market, second-hand market. So that's a good point. So if it is highly likely, what is the rule? Input option. This is not a sale. You'll conclude this is not a sale. If it is not a sale, we need to figure out if it is a lease or if it is a loan. What are the rules? When is it a lease? Come on, tell me quickly. When is it a lease? When is it a lease? It is a lease when the repurchase price is lesser than the actual selling price. So actually you sold this for 5 lakh. Yes. And you will repurchase it at 20,000. So what it is in this case? Lease or loan? It's lease or loan? Awesome. It's lease. When is it a loan? When the repurchase price is greater than the selling price, because usually in loans, you pay premium. So if you are getting, you will buy this asset back at a higher price than its actual selling price, then it will turn out to be loan. I'm not talking about fair value. I'm talking about the price at which you've sold it initially. So that in the question is 5 lakh, this one. So I will conclude that this is a lease. So this will be treated as a lease. Conclusion is my 5th point. So 5 points for this, 5 points for the previous one, 10 marks in my hand. And I've just brainstormed a case study. So in your exam also, you have to write it and think it in the same direction. I've not even read this. If you want, you can read this, but whatever I've written, I'm already getting 10 marks for this. So I will stop, as in when I get 10 marks, I'll stop writing. I'll not read it ahead, or I'll not explain things. I've got my 10 marks, done. No need to read it ahead. So what we have is, we are moving in the direction of the case study. Did you see how I moved in the direction of the case study? I first figured out internet service. I wrote 5 points for it. Then I figured out this sale of equipment. I figured out 5 points for it. So this is how you brainstorm, and this is how you move in the direction of the case study. Do we guys understand this? Everyone? Yeah? Understood? If you would have thought of this question in a different direction, but you would have explained those points, if they were making sense, you would have got step marking. So don't worry if your direction of thinking is wrong. You might have thought this as a variable consideration where we have a right to return. That is also something which is right. You could have explained this. So, but this is the actual arrangement, sale and repurchase. So because we have a probability that we will purchase it back. Right to return is we have to take it back. Then it is a sale, and then it is dealt under variable consideration. But here it was not a sale because there was a probability that we ourselves want to take it back. Right? No need to write your answers in paragraph. We have to write this in bullet points only because there are no professional marks. So now guys, very important part of our today's session, something which will make you happy. Exactly what should you guys do when you open your exam? So tomorrow we will open our December 2023 paper, but exactly how we have to do it. Please pay attention to this. We have to start from question number 1, that is related to groups. It might be group cash flow, it might be foreign exchange, it might be group P&L, it might be group balance sheet. Tomorrow I'll tell you a proper analysis of what was asked in the previous quarters in question number 1. So cash flow is recently there, so we can somewhere say that cash flow might not be tested again. But see, again, no cherry picking. You have to do cash flow because there are 4 set of examinations, right? So cash flow was there in 2 major sets, and it was not there in the 2 other set. So that means we cannot predict things, but we can at least estimate a little and be ready to change our estimate that cash flow might not be there, but we have to be ready for it, right? So we will attend that question tomorrow. So we have to read the question number 1. And while reading the exhibits of the question number 1, we have to side by side focus on pre-populated. So tomorrow I'll explain you this, how can you do it? Because most of the times what happens, if a question number 1 has explanation, people tend to explain it first and then move to pre-populated. That is not something which is suggested because then you miss on a lot of points. You can't read the exhibits again and again, no? You have to maximize your you have to utilize your time. So if I've read the exhibit once, with that one reading, I'm dealing with 3 requirements. 2 explanatory requirements, 1 pre-populated. So I'll see and I'll think side by side. This point is given in the case study. This is how I will deal with it in A requirement. This is how I will deal with it in B requirement. And this is how I'll deal with it in pre-populated. How can you do that? If you know the requirement. That is why whenever you start your paper, you're supposed to copy the requirement in the response option and read them carefully. Bold the verbs so that you know what they're asking. Are they asking discussion? Are they asking calculation? Are they asking evaluation? Are they asking you to critically appraise something? Are they asking you to calculate or describe something? So you need to understand that. Then never miss the subparts of a main requirement. Like in this question that we did, this question which we just did, in this requirement, they asked you 2 things, not 1. But with careless reading, I could have missed any one of them. So it's very important that you read the requirement properly. You copy it, paste it, you bold the verbs, and you bold what is asked. There are subparts to one requirement. Here there were subparts. One part was internet service, another part was sale of equipment. Then start reading the case study and side by side start making your response on the word as well. I'll tell you how to do this tomorrow itself, but I hope you're understanding what I'm trying to say. All these brainstorming points that I've written, these 5 points that I've written while reading the case study, maybe they're not my final answer, they are just my points which came into my mind while reading the question. So I'll do the brainstorming on the word option as well because scratch pads are not marked. I hope everyone knows scratch pad is not marked. So there's no point. That is literally scratch because it's not marked. So what's the point of brainstorming there? If the time runs out, I've done my brainstorming, at least in my response option, I'll get marks for it. So what's the point of brainstorming on a paper which is not even marked? And it's a word option, right? It's a word file. You can backspace anything that you want. So it's not like I'm brainstorming on a piece of paper. I've written something, I'll strike through, and then I'll be able to write my final answer. So I could have brainstormed on my word option only. Then move in the direction of the case study. That's what I did just now. After getting rough points from the case study, draft your final answer. Yes. So this is what we have to do. How to draft our final answer. How does a perfect SBR answer looks like? I'll share a lot of my answers that I've written. You already have examiner's perfect answer in the kit. If you guys can relate to that, you can write that. Otherwise, I'll share my answer, that what I write and what I suggest my students to write. They're more realistic. So what you can write is, you have to first make sure that wherever there are professional marks, you're writing in paragraphs and you're giving headings. If there are no professional marks, please write in bullet points, to the point. And state the standard first, just like I explained IFRS 15 ATP OTP. That was just mere standard. In Kate company, I explained IS 16 cost model and residual value. Then I give some background of the case study and then I start applying. So what I'm doing, I'm stating the standard and I am applying the standard. State and apply. Give conclusion. This conclusion can be clear, it can be vague. What do I mean by a vague or a clear conclusion? If you guys have gone through some questions on IFRS 5, like a question, I'm not able to remember the name, Barham company was there, which was sold. I don't know exactly which question is that. If somebody remembers, please drop it down in the chat box. Barham subsidiary was sold. And they asked whether this Barham company is a discontinued operation or not. So there I gave a vague conclusion that if it is a major line of business, then it is a discontinued operation. I never gave a black or a white. I gave a gray. So your conclusions are not supposed to be always clear. They can be vague. They can be diplomatic also. It's accepted. It's a P level paper. Okay. So it's accepted if you have diplomatic answers with you, vague answers with you. So give a conclusion which can be clear or vague. If you're very sure, give a clear conclusion. If you're not, you can leave it hanging. Right? So that's the conclusion. Then before giving the conclusion, I missed this point. Relate the standard to the case study and try to debate. Do left, right. Now, don't that doesn't mean that while giving the exam, you guys start doing left, right. You have to make the examiner think left and right. So when I was concluding that the revenue should be recognized OTP over here. In internet service, I gave a conclusion that revenue can be recognized OTP. Yes. So I can make the examiner wonder also. If there was a scope of wondering, I would have said why it is not at a point in time. So you will see such questions in your kit. If you have gone through some questions in the kit where we do left and right a lot. So for example, functional currency questions. IS 21. What is the functional currency of a subsidiary? Dollar or dinar? Mostly this question is there. You can find any such question in the kit. It is usually for 5 to 6 marks. So in that we give a debate. It is dollar. Sometimes we say this point suggests it's dollar. This point suggests it's dinar. And then we finally give a conclusion that majority of the points are suggesting that this is the functional currency. So we do left, right. So we have to be very open-minded while doing our questions, that we are not just, supporting one thing or favoring. It's not for or against something. We have to give points for both. It's a discussion. So you have to keep a discussive mind, not a debating or not a concluding point. You are not supposed to be judgmental. You are supposed to be open-minded that this can also be the conclusion, but I think this is not the conclusion because this is there in favor of the other thing. So I have to give points for both the things. Dollar, dinar, right? So that's how you do left and right. Then write years, figures, name of the company as much as possible. This makes it more relatable. So if I write the name of the company in my answer, it feels like you're applying your application skill. How can you apply? How can you apply your knowledge to the case study? If you are mentioning the name of the company, if you're mentioning the years, if you're mentioning numbers, so that makes it more professional and that makes it more understandable for the examiner and relatable. That doesn't feel like that you are a baby and you're just writing about whatever you know about IFRS. No, you have to write it in relevance to the case study. So that is the reason I say that mention these years, figures, and name of the company as much as possible. So this is how you have to write your perfect SBR answer. Are we guys clear on this? Are we all clear on this? Are we all awake? What's happening in the chat box? Very much awake. Good. Take a break. Have some water. Let me have some too. Just few more minutes to go. Yes, guys. I hope you all have had your water. Audible? Yes, audible. Okay, let's get started. How to deal with bouncer questions. So if you are a fan of cricket, you know what's a bouncer ball. So such questions can be there in the exam also, which goes over the head, which are bouncer. Example in front of you. So this is from Luna company. This question is talking about conceptual framework and it's talking about its probability concept with some IFRS and IS, which still talks about probability. So since I have taught you this, so you might think, no, ma'am, this is not bouncer. But think about the students who were not knowing this and they first time encountered such a question. What probability? They were just reading the definition of asset like it was that asset is something which is good, which is happy, which is an inflow of economic resources, blah, blah, blah. So now suddenly the examiner asked a very minute concept, relate the probability of conceptual framework with the probability of many standards. Like IS 37 talks about probability. IFRS 5 talks about probability. All of my students who attended any free lecture of mine as well, they know what is capsin. They know what is capsin, right? P stands for probable sale. So when I talk about probability in IFRS 5, I talk about probability in pirate, that is of IS 38. I talk about probability in IS 37, provisions, contingent liabilities. Then why am I not talking about probability in the definition of asset and liability? That's the question. So how can you deal with such bouncer questions? Just like I explained you that SME one, you need to explain, you will pick up keyword. So first I will pick up a keyword here of probability. So how probability is there in conceptual framework? I'll explain that. Then I'll tell them how probability is there in various standards. They've even given me the standard name. IFRS 5, they've given me IS 37. They've given me contingent consideration in IFRS 3 business combination. There also I calculate expected value. So I will relate these two things now. I'll build a bridge between them. So I'll say conceptual framework is the moral science lecture of all the accountants. They are supposed to follow conceptual framework, but ironically, in the standards, we are talking about probability, but in the conceptual framework, we are not talking about probability. This is very ironic, something we can laugh at. So this is something where ISB is lacking. No, we are criticizing ISB that, dude, you have set out probability away in the conceptual framework, but why have you not set it out yet in the IFRS? So IFRSs need revision. But there's a conflict here. So you will mention that conflict and who wins the conflict? Yes, who wins the conflict? Who wins the conflicts? Standards. So any point of time where conceptual framework is not, aligning with the standard, the winner is standard because standard is a rule. Conceptual framework is a voluntary practice. It's like a moral science lecture, which most of you must have skipped in your actual school days. So at the end of the day, we need to follow IFRSs. So this is what we will write here. So basically, another example of bouncer question. Very, very terrible question. Have you guys tried Hall's company? I put it in your Super 20 list also. I'll be solving it live with you. I hope everyone who's there in my batches, they're ready for this question. Hall's company. Have you guys tried it? Anyone? YouTube, family, have you tried? Have we tried Hall's yet? Nope. Okay, so you're waiting for me to teach you Hall's. Try to read this today. Just give a reading. Don't look at the answer. Anyway, you won't understand the answer. You will just confuse yourself even if you try reading the answer because it's a little very off the track. not feels like out of syllabus, but it is in the syllabus only. So I'll do this with you, but I'm just showing you one of its requirement. Here they are saying, discuss briefly the arguments for and against issuing practice statement management commentary as a non-binding framework or as an IFRS standard. So you guys have done management commentary as your current issue. What is management commentary? It is the comments of the management which are given in the annual report about the performance of the company. So it's not like chairman's statement, CEO's statement, management talks about what is the performance according to us. They even give their point of view. So you cannot say that only my POV matters. It's also about management's POV. They will explain things to you. So we will say that, yes, there's an explanation given to us by the management, but it is non-binding. It's not something which every company's management has to give comment on the financial statements. It's a voluntary practice. So this question is asking you, what are the advantages of making it voluntary and what are the disadvantages? But if you read it for the first time, you'll feel like this is bouncer. Since now I've explained this to you, now you'll say, ma'am, very easy. But if you would have read it in crunch of time, I am damn sure, 100% sure you would have said this was a bouncer question totally out of syllabus. This time's SBR paper was very difficult. So I'll be solving December 23. All the people watching this on YouTube, if you have been my students in December, I'll be solving your paper. So let's see if it was really difficult or not. So what seems difficult is actually not difficult because we are doing it in time pressure. That's why it feels difficult, right? That's why practice is important. So here, just by reading this question twice, I understood what they're asking from me. So I would say, what is the advantage of management commentary being non-binding? It saves time of the management. That, if we don't want to give commentary, fine, don't give the commentary. Why is it even compulsory? It's our wish. You do it yourself. We're giving you financial statements. You calculate the KPIs yourself, interpret yourself. Then what is another advantage? Saves time, energy, resources. And, since it is non-binding, so compliance reduces. So risk of misstatement also reduces. But here, what is the disadvantage of making it non-binding? Where we should have been getting the commentary of the management, we are now not getting. If I tell you guys, giving your mock is voluntary. The people who are professional procrastinators here, they will not give their mock. I can give an agreement on this. They will not give the mock because I made it voluntary. The moment I say it is compulsory or I will remove your access from the portal, everyone would give. Even if they copy paste, they would give. I'm planning to introduce this policy, by the way. So that means anything which is voluntary, in school, there were so many activities which were voluntary. I don't know if you guys have been through those activities. Those extracurricular activities. If you want to join the debate club, you can join. How many of you joined the debate club? Because you know that this is not going to affect my report card, so let it be. There is a choir going on. It's voluntary if you want to be part of it. Even though you know singing, you won't go. So that is something which is a disadvantage of making anything non-binding, that many people who are lethargic, who are procrastinators, they are not going to take part in it, even if it would be good for the investors at a larger level that they know the management commentary. Second thing is that if you make it non-binding, it will reduce comparability. Very important point. Because some people will make management commentary, some will not make management commentary. So this will reduce the comparability. So this is something which I could have written for 4 marks. 2 advantages, 2 disadvantages. Then discuss how qualitative characteristics of understandability. So first explain understandability, explain relevance and comparability should be applied to management commentary. So my 3 marks are very simple here. Explaining the qualities and then explaining management commentary. So out of 5, 3 marks easy. Now 2 marks are for bridging that gap. Relating the qualities with management commentary. So if the management commentary will be in easy language, it will be understandable. If the management commentary is based upon consistent measures, it will be comparable. If you keep consistency, you'll make it comparable. If the management commentary is made with regards to what is reported in financial statements and what is material, then it will be relevant. And if it is true and fair, blah, blah, blah. So this is the type of theoretical question that you get, which I call as bouncer question. So how can you deal with such bouncer questions? You can deal with such bouncer questions like you used to deal with your graduation paper. Remember your graduation exams, especially people from Asia, not just India, but from Asia, I would say. We really don't study in our graduation, right? Let's be very truthful about it. In college, we are not studying. We might have studied in professional qualifications, but not in college. So in that particular case, what do? We try to write as much as we can, and we try to decode that question that at least we get some marks. So same kind of approach you have to keep here. You are not supposed to leave them blank. You are not supposed to panic. You have to pick up words from the question, explain those words, definitions of those words, and then try to bridge the gap. So you'll get your easy marks. That's the smarter way to solve things, because these are not part of your syllabus. Conceptual framework is different part of syllabus, and this management commentary is different part of syllabus. But they are cooking a meal of these two, khichdi. So I have to deal with this somehow, and that's why I will follow the shortcut that I will decode this question as much as I can. I'll explain the terminology and I'll bridge the gap. So this is how you deal with bouncer questions. And that is it for today. Before I end, these are the important list of technical articles for all the students who've attended it till this point in time. Congratulations, you've attended a very huge session, that too in the late evening hours. So that's a gift for you. These are the only articles that I would suggest all of you to read, okay? You can take a picture of it. Anyway, I'll be sharing this. And on these technical articles, I've already uploaded a YouTube video. If there would be any update, sometimes ACCA puts a new technical article 2 weeks before the exam, 1 week before the exam. So we will cater to it. I'll make a YouTube video on that as well. So for now, these are the most important technical articles, and you have to just do and watch them, specifically this one. Okay, this. These are very important. Now, don't cherry pick out of these at least. I'm not cherry picking just 8 technical articles for you. Rest of the technical articles are repetition of syllabus. So if you have done your syllabus well, you've already covered them. These are something extra. That's why I've listed it out for you. So this is what you will solve through these videos. You can watch each video every day with your breakfast. So you can listen to me while having breakfast, maybe while traveling to work. I'll entertain you with these technical articles. So that's how you can cover your backlogs, and that's how you can cover your important concepts. Lastly, this is our Super 20. If you guys are planning on to cover the Super 20 yourself, do it. Okay. All the best. These are the Super 20 questions from Kaplan Kit. And all the students who are part of my WhatsApp groups, like who are enrolled with me, the people who are in crash course, post-result batch, or the regular batch, we will be doing this from 15th of Feb as discussed, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. So that's it, guys. I hope this whole session was helpful to all, and you have understood something from whatever we've discussed. Now, tomorrow we'll be meeting everyone same time. I'll work on the Zoom link better. The Zoom ditched me even though I had the license. I don't know why. So I would be conducting it on Zoom itself. Same link which is there. you are supposed to join the session, and we will practice December 2023 past papers, especially the pre-populated spreadsheet will be discussed tomorrow with everyone. So be there. That's it. And thank you for joining in live, guys. I hope it was a helpful session. If you are planning on to enroll with my revision courses, let's do the marketing also. If you're planning on to enroll with my courses, you can visit my website www.tgprofs.com. Yes, and you can enroll in the crash courses. I think I might have this open. If I have, I'll show you. Yeah. So this is how the website looks like. Maybe the net is not working. Yeah, I'm a human dude. Okay. So this is how the website looks like. You have to go to the courses section. This is the crash course which is going on. We'll go to the courses, SBR crash course, and we can enroll. It's for $60 US, and these are the points which are there, right? So if you're planning on to attend my live question debriefs and you want to get some important recordings of question debriefs from the kit and important questions from the kit as well as important concepts, then you can plan on to enroll for the crash course. So that's it, guys. Thanks for joining in. I hope it was a fruitful and helpful session. See you tomorrow, all of you. Till then, take care, goodbye, and good night. Thanks for joining in. Lots of love. Bye-bye.